periodically called the Tales of Tarpon, and that's what we're doing tonight, which, as the name suggests, you're going to hear some tales of Tarpon from some of our most beloved citizens. So they're going to just share whatever they want to share, and I know there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions if you'd like. So just a couple of things to let you know. On the back table there, we have these forms that if you're not already a member of the Historical Society and you're interested in joining, we would love to have you join us. So you can get those at the back table. And there's also just a sign-in sheet. If you'd just like to get our free newsletter, just put your email on that. We'd love to have you included. That way you can keep up to date with all the different things we're doing. There's also a donation box down there. Tonight's event is free, but we are a nonprofit organization, so we welcome support from the community. So if you would like to contribute, we'd welcome that as well. So at this point, I'm going, well, why don't I introduce any of our board members over here? So if you are on our board, if you could just stand up so we can recognize you. So any of the people serving on the board, thank you very much. As well, and then our new depot coordinator, Carol Mountain. Carol, come to stand. You're recognizing you. So just say what you get, you can hard work with people, and we're so grateful for all of it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our former president, which is Eddie Hoffman. He is going to serve as our MC this evening. So Eddie, why don't you come on up?
Telling my wife Barbara earlier that I thought of some brilliant things to say, and they slipped away. Exactly. The whole idea of this is we're going to have fun. It started out as we were talking about people that we were losing so quickly around town, and those stories were lost. And so we wanted to document those. And so we wanted to have a sound stage where we could start recording stories, tales. By the way, they don't have to be completely true. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. That's a good story. But anyway, and then we thought, well, instead of just having us sit in a room someplace with a microphone on somebody, let's do it where we bring our members of the Historical Society and the public to join us and listen to these stories as well. So Andrew's going to be documenting where everything is being said, so be careful what you say, because it's going to be it show on YouTube. We're going to keep it, this is very loose, very casual. There's a conversation between our speakers and the audience, and then hopefully between them, because the Weisstock family and the Fagles families are somewhat interconnected with great friendships. So it should be easy, and I'm thinking, kind of a spur of the moment thing, that might have you all come up and end up sitting on one side and then the other. We have a microphone between, so that we can end up y'all sharing conversations and correct each other. No, that's not the way it happened. Remember, blah, 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 or, be able to spur each other on with the stories. Then we're also going to ask at the end to be able to, that everybody can ask questions of, whatever that you'll want to ask that the speakers may or may not have covered. So with that, I think we'll get started. But one thing I want to say, which is a little bit like a broken record, our history with the Historical Society is like the memory of Tarpon. When you lose your memory, when you have a parent or yourself or whatever that is starting to deal with dementia, you start to, losing those stories, and that seems frustrating and sad. And so the city, people that come to Tarpon Springs that don't know the history and the richness and the diversity of our town. Like Trinity, for example, Trinity may be a nice place to live, but it doesn't have a life. It doesn't have history, at least yet. And so it doesn't have what I would call the soul of the city. Tarpon Springs has a wonderful history, and it's our job to preserve that and keep that alive generation after generation. So, well, with all that jabber on, I'm going to start and maybe ask Shirley if you and maybe Dan want to come up on this side. Yeah, come on up now. Unless you don't want to. We want the faculty go. And then the faculty plan can come up. Come up and sit over on this side. Listen, there's a green light on this.
There you go.
Okay. This is better. One.
Try that one.
Oh, that's enough.
Try that one. I'll get the batteries on there.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll get one more shirt. This is like, by the way, it looks like it's going to be a contest. That's not the case.
I know.
It's like one of those games that we play. Anyway, okay. I know, Vasily, you're going to need to leave, so maybe we'll start.
We're good, yeah. If I slipped out a little bit, I apologize. My wife just had knee replacement surgery. So, anyway, we're good.
So, okay, so we'll start with the fact lists, and you can just give a little bit of background, I should get out of the way, what you want, you might want to talk about, start with some stories.
I didn't know it was going nice. Thank you so much for coming. It'd be so nice.
I would talk about them in my history and the number of shoes that he's worked on for me, and et cetera, et cetera. But, and Vasily too. Oh, by the way, everything we're talking about, you got to remember the history is also right now. It starts now. And this little event that we're having here may also, that's part of history. So I'm excited about that. This thing happens sometimes. Maybe me has evolved more because it seems like it disappears. Anyway, so if y'all would like to start, and then we'll ask the Weissnau family to do their little thing, and then we'll
Do you want to hold
have a
it?
conversation between you all. So, okay, the fabulous family. And then really close.
Let's see. I had two uncles that came here in 1910. 2 years later, they sent for my father. He came here in 1912. And this has been our home all these years. We grew up in Tarpon Springs. We lived across the street from Tarpon Elementary. Walked to school, walked home at noon, walked back home. And then go across the street to the Greek school. And everything was right in town. And it was a real nice place to live and to grow up with. We knew everybody knew us. And it was a special thing growing up in Tarpon Springs. And there's a lot of people that I recognize all the time, and I know them. Where's Boogie? She's my classmate. We went to school together from the first grade to the 12th. And of course, I know John. I see him almost every day. John Tarpon. And so many others. Shirley and her handsome son. And Hoffman.
All friends.
I'll let you say something too.
Tell us.
many of you know that, we have a shoe store, shoe repair, thigh clinic, and just, some interesting history where my paternal side of the family comes from the island of Sea, Greece, in the Dodecanese Islands. And as many young men were recruited to come here to go sponge diving, and so was my grandfather and his brothers. But when they were, one brother was in sponging already and seeing the other two brothers, they were younger. The island of Sea had a lot of carpenters, and Nicole's family, I should see, same island, and they were known for way back into the Ottoman, when they were under the Ottoman Empire, they were known to make these fast skiffs, and they needed that from the island of Sea. And if you go there, there's a lot of beautiful carpentry. Anyway, my great-grandfather lost his sight when my grandfather and one of his brothers were like 8 or 9 years old, and they had to quit school to go to work to help feed the family. And they had an uncle who was he was a master shoemaker, and he had a little shoe factory there, and they made shoes, so they apprenticed him. And they all would, work on the side of the sponge industry, just to make extra money. But when they came over here, my grandfather had gone over to Kissimmee just for a short bit. Apparently there was somebody from the island of Sea that was already there, had a cafe and a movie theater. And so they worked there. He and another guy worked there. They washed dishes, and they were able to they ran the movie theater by hand, and I cleaned it up, and then this is going in and out. And then they slept on the floor. Anyway, just to speed things up,
You have time.
my grandfather really wanted to work in his craft, and so he built a little cart, and he went out on the street, and he was repairing shoes and making shoes. And they said, this is right after he came over from Greece. He barely spoke much English, but they said, you can't do that, you got to have a permit. And anyway, he rented space in a bike shop, and then he saved some money. He came back, he came to Tarpon, and he stayed here. And the one brother went back to Greece, the one brother stayed with him, and they started their business together, and sent money back to Greece. That's how our business evolved. And it evolved from making shoes and repairing, and precious thing they did while repairing. And the business evolved into, clothing and the orthopedic work that we do. But Tarpon is a wonderful community, and I feel like everybody's family. I see the kids there, go to school with Steve, I won't tell you some of the stories. but even my mom Katie, who came from Pensacola, her family, a lot of the people from that island in Greece went to Pensacola. And my dad, when he married her, she came here, and she was a teacher. And there's one of her students right there, John, Tarpon. And so, and then, our families just kept growing. But this is family. This is our family here. And, we see people that come to the store, and we haven't seen them in years. Terry Bradley, Terry Bradley, who was Terry Singletary, and she lives up in she lives in Tallahassee. The police station named after Harry Singletary. But she was also one of my mom's student, and James Dorset, and these people still come back and see us, and we're all family, and but great stories. Terry tells a story where, I didn't know this, but when she first started at Tarpon Junior High School, it was when they first integrated the schools. And my mom, I'm going to embarrass her, but my mom, and that's just her heart, she made her feel like everybody else. And she told her, and Terry told her this, you hold your head up high, and she pushed her, she was also stayed close to her, and she encouraged her. She went to college, she became a teacher. These people still come back and thank us. We had another family come in the other day, and they were crying because of, seeing my uncle and what a wonderful family we are in the community. I'm rambling, but my mom was also involved in the church for many, many years as a choir director, as was my uncle, president of the community. The library, my mom was part of the library board when we moved from here to build a new library, and other various community organizations. What else? What else I'm going to say? Say something.
When we first got married, I have to say, I'm very attractive in life. That's the way I was introducing myself. It's a beautiful family. I came here in 1964, and it's just beautiful. Home, loving, and I've loved everything that I've done here. Yes. Really have.
When did you get married?
It's part of family. That's what you do for
I
family.
said, when did you get married?
When?
Yes.
1964, July 12th.
How long did you know it before?
It's a little strange. Actually, up in Georgia, we had a convention in Pensacola, and Georgia come, but I was busy. We were part of the committee, we didn't power or anything. I just knew him because I was busy also with the music going on, just everything. And I don't know, seems like 5 years later, I had come down a couple of times here. And that's about it.
There's more to the story.
That's about it. Beautiful. Yeah.
I met my wife through similar, through Gus O'Rourke. I was in his wedding. That's my mother-in-law, and Mike O'Rourke is her brother and sister. And they live in Pittsburgh, but similar, and just extended families. Tarpon is very like Eddie was saying. There's so much to this community, and it's many small communities. And I met Nicole at the same school. When we went to middle, it's Tarpon Middle, and I think like 7th grade, and we've been friends ever since. And our families Debbie sitting there, she's ready to build boats on the Anklo River for many, many years. Just the Cantonis family, and I could go on and on and on. So we all grew up together here.
I just wanted to say about the Cantonis family. Helen Cantonis, she was another big part of our culture, making costumes, being everywhere, and I think she also helped at the cultural center. Yes. Her daughter Christy is here, so we love Helen.
And what's fitting is Miss Shirley and my Aunt Anna were best friends. And when they asked us, and I didn't hear Weisskopf first, but then when I heard it again, I said, this is so beautiful. My aunt passed this year, but they were best friends, and the close-knit families, like oftentimes my aunt would say, someone said, and she wouldn't tell you who, because they would, again, they're not going to say, they're not going to drag anybody out, but someone said, and to me, I figured out many years later that someone was going to be either Shirley, Florida Bell, Anita Brothers, but I was fortunate to grow up in this, in the store in downtown Tarpon, and whether you were, didn't matter what religion you were, what color you were, whether you were wealthy or poor, we were all one family, and that's just was, and I feel it's still like that, but it was just a very unique experience growing up in this community, and I'm now seeing back, seeing what my dad and uncle and their, all the siblings, everybody in the family worked in a store. Debbie grew up in St. Pete, cousins from St. Pete. They drove over here and worked in a store through the years. So it's evolved, and we're still evolving, but we're still in the same community, same wonderful community. What else?
Vasily, do you have any infamous or famous people that came to the store through the years?
Infamous?
Or famous?
Infamous and famous. Well, we've been fortunate to fit so many people with footwear and orthopedic corrections, and I was having this conversation with Dan Vincent, and you see people at the best of times and the worst of times, and they were people that you fit for generations. Famous people. Well, pretty good, he's one of us. What's that?
The Governor Ron Charles.
Yes. He came over and Michael, can you think of any other famous people?
Not really.
We've actually worked on through the orthotic committee with some professional athletes in the NFL. That's been and Major League Baseball, some runners. So that's interesting and that's fun. And they like because it is a community. And it's not just, not knocking on Trinity, but any sort of.
Did any movie stars from the movies that they made here come in, like Robert Wagner, Terry Moore,
You know,
Gilbert Roland?
Yes, they had come to the store.
Yes.
They had bought bandanas, and somebody bought some rubber boots. That's some time ago now. I want to say something about Chrissy. I remember when she was just a little girl, she used to visit her dad and had the warehouse across the street from the house. And she used to come across the street to our house and visit my mother. And my mother used to play with her. I don't know if she remembers that or not. And she used to put out tea set. My mother played with her since she was a little girl too. And I remember her, she always liked to come over. And I think about that all the time whenever I see her.
Well, I remember going to your store every Easter and buying my Easter shoes.
And my classmate, Willie Gonzalez, her dad used to deliver milk in the house every day. A long time ago. And that was before the grocery stores were around and had all the milk and stuff. They used to deliver right to our house, Gonzalez Dairy. And then we used to go out to the dairy, to the farm. I'll say the farm out, and we used to go and pick up fertilizer there. And one time I remember real well, my father got stuck out there. So he went to the house and he said, Miss Gonzalez, will you come get my car out of there? She says, no, I'm not going to come get the car out of there. You got in that mess, you get out of there. And her daddy and her uncles, they came over there and helped push him out of the mess. And those are all kinds of memories that we have.
Where was that farm?
Where was the farm?
Yeah.
Where was it? Like right across the street over the bridge.
Where Captain Jack's is now, there, and we still own the property where the dairy was originally. And my couple started it in 1917.
I remember her granddad and her dad real well. Go ahead.
Excuse me, how did World War II affect your business and your store?
how did World War II
I heard it. I wasn't in the store that much then, so I don't know what it affected about.
That's a long time ago.
How it affected me. I know that people had to have stamps to buy shoes, and we still have a book of stamps that people turned in from back then. It's sitting in the desk here, just for the museum. But I don't remember what else, what effect did it have.
I also found a book of, it was my grandfather's, people had an account, which was, you'd go to the stores, even, we would go to some of the restaurants, Herms or, what's it called, Gold Cup, across the street, you know, you would just, we'd go and just say, put it on, you know, a family's account, put it on the backwards account, but people had that at the store. And I happened to find an old book upstairs in our store, and but it was neat just seeing the family names of all, you know, the people, and it's a history of Tarpon. And John has the same thing, you know, from their store. And, you know, they started in 1911, we started in 1912. Right across the street from each other, and the families were close. And, just, you know, I mean, it sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, whatever you want to say, but we truly, you know, love to, you know, live, work, and play in Tarpon. And, you know, thank people like John and his family who invested back into our town, because I remember when, you know, there were just a few stores and the rest were boarded up, and they took a chance on Tarpon. They could have done it elsewhere, but it was on, you know, rebuilding our downtown, our community. And that's, you know, that just shows you, you know, you could have done it elsewhere, and I'm sure it probably would have been more lucrative, but it's the love of our community. And when the Vice Prof speak, they'll bring this up, but I have many memories of the Vice Profs and Mr. Vice Prof, and, you know, just, you know, love living in this community. And it's great that we're doing this, because like Eddie says, and that we're recording it, because when we lose it, it's gone. And I know Nicole's had a lot to do with that as well.
What'd you start to say, Christy?
Oh,
That she came to the store for her Easter shoes.
every year.
Every year.
Because since the Kiktas are here, I'll say a funny story about, what's that? Uncle Mike. When we were in Tarpon, Tarpon High, and Nicole probably was in the class too, because we graduated together. Steve was a year ahead of us, and we were in geometry or algebra too, and I was sitting here, and Steve Kikta was sitting next to me, and Bill Caceres, who was our teacher, wonderful man, and he was going up and down the rows, and he was looking up like this, but he pointed to my paper and my test, and he said something in Greek, and Steve said, "What are you saying?" And I said, "Number 10 is wrong." And he said, "Well, ask me for the answer." I said, "Okay, next time you come around, I'll ask you." But, and, you know, Melody's, you know, a year older than us, but we all grew up together, graduated with that, and Michael Sappleson, and, you know, and just wonderful memories of our community.
Can I share a story? You just reminded me. Let's go Mike real quick. So I remember my class, we were in Mr. Constant's
Yes.
class, another math teacher, and Mr. Katsaris poked his head in the door and says to Mr. Constantine, he looks and goes, "Looks like a bright bunch." To which Mr. Constantine says, "Looks to be deceiving."
I wanted to mention about the accounts. I thank you and your family very much, because when I was a kid, I was born back then. But my aunt and uncle, my Connie and Rhodey Watts, if you look at your record, you'll probably find them there. As a child, 10-year, 11-year-old child, we didn't have much, but your store gave my aunt and uncle an account. every year, just like her, I would go get my shoe dusted, and to this day, I'm a shoe. I love shoes. I still bring my shoes to your shop when I get them fixed. So my friend, her parents too, have an account at your store, but she wanted the shoes, and her mom said, no, you can't have shoes. She ran outside with shoes on, she drove her in, and had to go back in, so your parents had to put the shoes on her account. So she got the shoes, she wanted those like that leather shoes that she got. So she went outside and played them, so she had to get them back. But I wanted to mention too, Ms. King, I'm pleased to have your namesake. My name is King too, and it's a blessing because I know Terry Ann, I know James and Brenda Dorset, and the educators, all of my educators. So thank you for your service. So not only military, but thank you for serving our community. Thank you for giving my family accounts that I had shoes to wear when I was a child. And the same thing for the Tarpon. That's what my clothing store. That was a clothing store. I go there and get the dresses, but I came to your shoe store and I got my shoes. So thank y'all. God bless you.
Ms. Boyle also had an account on so many people that when she passed away, she actually had it in her will. Nancy came over and said, I expected it. She came over, she said, pay my mom's account. She had it in her will.
I just want to thank everybody for being here, and I love the Historical Society. We need to always keep it up, pass it on down to our children. This is beautiful.
And we thank the community because when I was a little younger, whenever we had season tickets to the Bucks games, and it was a Thursday night game or a Saturday night game. It was a lot of time, and I was there, and Mom had taken me to the store, and I was going to go to the game with my dad, and there was a customer he was working with it. It was past closing time and whatever, and I whispered to my dad and agreed. I said, we got to go to the game. And he just gave me that look. So then afterwards, I knew not to say anything. Afterwards, we were in the car driving, and he said, because of people like that, we're able to do things like this. And that really hit home, we thank you, we thank our community, because it's put food on our table, and we have a passion for what we do, but, it was able to put us through school, and others as well. And, another gentleman said, I was 9, 10 years old, and I was too young to work, but my family needed money, and he said, and he came, and he was hugging Uncle Michael and crying, and he said, we need some extra money, you let me work. And he said, and I was the best kid in Tarpon Elementary. So, but anyway, just wonderful memories. Anything else?
Yeah, I want to know, you found that account book.
I'll bring it.
Are there some accounts
Not Mrs. Royals.
And so where do you said you live next to the elementary school?
Across the street, yeah.
Across the street from the and that's Tarpon Elementary, not the old elementary school. No, the old.
The old elementary, yes.
Okay.
The old elementary was built 1912. It was on Eagle Street.
Across the street from the Greek.
Across the street from the Greek school. Yes.
Yeah, the Greek school. Right.
Which is bizarre. That's, how
I'm going to now turn the mic over and let the White Sox talk for a little bit, and then we can do some more conversation between, and maybe y'all can come up with some more questions to ask them. But I did want to point out that y'all were talking about classmates. How many classmates do you have here that are in your class?
I graduated with Nicole, and I mean, Melody's a year older.
I guess that's close.
What year was
Was a year
that?
older.
What year did they graduate? What year did
We
they
graduated in 85.
85.
You're just those days.
But you know what? I guess the Archers went to school with Jeff graduated with us in 1985 and played baseball, and Mr. Archer coached us, and, you know, just great memories. But I was laughing. I said, you know, years ago somebody said you need to come to the old timers dinner or whatever. And I said, well, I'm not an old timer, but I guess we're old timers now. So we need to join that too. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. I did, though, have to tell you that my class is thoroughly represented here. Christy, okay, there's one. And Nancy, where's Nancy? Oh, Nancy back there, number 2. John, number 3, and me. There's 4 of us that have been all the way through elementary school together. And,
There's 4 of us from 73.
73.
We graduated in 73.
You're just little kids.
There's 5 of
You're little
us.
kids.
Yeah, from 73.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's okay, Nancy, that Chrissy, you tell what our class was? Class of 69. Anyway, so let's move on. I didn't mean to distract everybody. So I remember I had to thank Bob Weiskopf for his little camera shop that was downtown, because that's where I got my very first camera. And it was a little Kodak Instamatic camera, and I used that and took these pictures. And so those are the pictures that I have from my childhood that are in an album that I put together. And they're still treasured memories, but those little square pictures, all stuck in the book there. I have you all to thank for that. So anyway, it's a cool little camera. Probably worth a fortune now. Sorry, I lost it. But anyway, so Shirley, you want to say a few? Did you want to first disagree with anything they said? Or correct
I agree. I agree. They're one of the best families in town. I just loved all of them. But I was told I was to talk about what I learned and what I did when I first moved here. I moved here from the little town of Apalachicola. I came in a Model T Ford with my family. My father was with the Florida Power, and very wonderful person. What?
Keep it close.
And anyhow, when I first came here, I lived on Central Court, which is right over there. And the first person I walked out on the street, and there was Joe and Joyce White. And they introduced themselves, and we were friends forever. It was great the way they were. But what I want to tell you about my early life in Tarpon Springs, which I think is the most beautiful city. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I tell everybody, you got to come at Christmas time. You got to see this. You got to see that. But I used to walk on this walkway. I'd go uptown and go to the theater. I never once worried about being attacked or raped or shot at. It didn't ever occur to me to be afraid, because I wasn't afraid, and I wasn't a type person. And there was still 2 of the boathouses right over there. Tarpon is one, and I don't know who was the other one. They had some pictures on the side of them that I didn't understand until I was older. But anyhow, we would go to the movie. We had 2 movie theaters here. We had the Tarpon Theater and the Ritz Theater. 9 cents. Popcorn was 5. You could go and take a date and you walked everywhere. I did not date anyone until later on in life that had a car. We walked, we had the bicycle, we just went everywhere. And we'd go to the city park and there was Boehner's. And after school, we'd all run there and get a vanilla Coke. That was the big thing there. And it was just fun. When we had the pier, which is Sunset Beach, and in my time here, I helped, we came up here right after Pearl Harbor. And at that time, we had to have the lights on our car and windows. We had to keep the shades down. And the front of the automobile lights had to be covered over black, where they were halfway black. And that was because they were worried about planes interfering or doing something. I sat with my sister and another old family, Goss family here, and we would sit out at the beach and we would, what they call, be a spotter. And if we'd see a plane coming over, we had little binoculars, and we would write down, there's a plane coming over in such and such an area, and it would go to Drew Field. We didn't have Tampa. We didn't have Tampa Airport then. And we would tell them, we're the spotters at Tarpon Springs, and we're seeing this, that, and the other thing. And we did that a lot. We volunteered for that. My mother was a hard worker here with the Red Cross. When people needed to get a child home that was overseas, Mother would try to do it, because I know it happened to a good friend of mine. But Tarpon is just a great place. I mean, I can remember when we were here, the Register's grocery store, there was a man named Herbert. And if you wanted some really good meat, some really good steaks, you could go back in there and he would grind your hamburger right then. It wasn't stored, it was ground. And he would cut you a steak. How thick do you want it, you know? I can just remember all that about him. I went to Tarpon High. I graduated from Tarpon High. My parents already had 2 in college, so I didn't go to college. I went to work. I worked at Stockford Chemical as a receptionist. And when my mother and dad moved to Clearwater, I spent a lot of my nights in their beds, in the Fabulous family beds. Anna and I were such close friends, and we just had a wonderful time. I'll tell you, Tarpon had a lot for the kids in those days. At the end of Orange Street and Tarpon Avenue, Pinellas Avenue, there's a vacant lot that has Stamus boats on it. And that used to be a Methodist church there. And during the war, the Methodist church, they made it into a little hall where kids could come after school, and we danced. We would dance. We had a lot of fun doing that. They took it down after a while. During the war, we had the Coast Guard was in the Villa Pomosa, which is where there is condos now. That's the end of Orange Avenue. And I think that's Orange and Grand. I think it is Grand. I'm not positive. And then we had the Army out on Florida Avenue, and that's where their camp. I call it Sand Hill, but there's another Sand Hill out in it at Lake Tarpon, so I don't know. But that was where the Army was. And then there was something else. I don't remember. But then anyhow, we had the servicemen here, and the Catholic Church We used to have very little. It only had 10 families when I moved here. We were called auto worshipers because we had pictures and statues of our Blessed Mother. And we had to work through that. But my good friend Goldie and Anna, everybody helped me learn a little bit of Greek. I learned enough to take up for myself, and I love it. I can still understand their Greek, the way they speak Greek, better than most people here. But anyhow, when you'd go to Mass on Sunday, after we got the other church that came from Drewfield, we would pick which of the soldiers here needed to go to dinner. And we would bring them home. And we had the big house on Central Court. And we would feed, I know, at least 4 on Sundays. We would have them for lunch, dinner. My family, they were very, very devout. So anyhow, 2 of them married. Grace Kleinfeld was one of them that married here. We had several of them that became very close here, that married our girls, you know. But it was just a great place to be. I love it. I've always loved it, and my family. And we had the Rotary Club wanted to have a fundraiser for the youth center. They wanted to build a youth center here. And we got Rubinoff, and his famous violin came, and he happened to come. I've got a picture of him over here with his violin. And my husband was a big mouth. He loved people. He invited them for dinner. And he also, at my house on a Friday night, which Friday I don't eat meat on Friday in those days. And he came, Bob said, he's coming to dinner. I said, really? And he was, Linda was a baby, like a year old. And he brought his violin, and he played it, and you held it. Bob took him to the grammar school, which my sister was out here in Sunset Hills. She was the secretary there for 30 years, till she retired. She's gone now. And this is a picture of him with
Jane Mansfield.
And he told the kids when he took them in the auditorium and talked to them, he said, I want you to put your hands in your lap, and you do not talk to each other until we're finished. He said, this is the way you should act when you have somebody come see you. And so that's what they did. And he took them there, and he took them to the high school, and where else did he go? Oh, he was at Rotary. I don't know. He was at Rotary. You might have been there. And it was fun. He came in the house, and I had my daughter's godmother flew in from Illinois that day. I said, what am I going to feed a Jewish man that was very Jewish? What am I going to feed him? Okay. And so I sent her down. She walked in, and I said, you got to go down to the sponge docks for me. And I said, I need some shrimp. Went down there, $1 a pound, big, nice shrimp. We came back, and we had a great time. He was very good. And we raised a lot of money. And then we needed more money than the Burris family put in their money into the house. This boys' center over there, I guess they call it. And we also had Miss Grease come. And
Miss Universe.
Miss Universe.
She was Miss Grease.
But she was Miss Grease. And anyhow, that was some of the funny times. And Boogie was there when we saw that. I don't have the one with you in it. This is just the old one. But anyhow, I wanted to tell them something. Oh, you mentioned giving out shoes, and you talked about that. There's a 100-year-old store by the name of Tarpon, and my husband was one of 12 children. and they didn't have much because they had to move to Florida because of sickness of the one child who did pass. But they would go in there, and Mr. and Mrs. Tarapani, they'd be sitting there always at that desk, and they would know her, and she would then say, "Okay, Mr. Snowden's waiting on you. He'll take care of you." So Mr. Snowden, they went back there, and I think there was probably about 5 or 6 of them left when Mr. Tarapani, when they got shoes. I think it was twice a year that they donated half of the bill for them to get shoes. And she talked about it all for years about how good they were to help the poor. So I know what you mean with your family too. And they would do the same thing. It was just, it's a small town thing that you can't find anywhere else. I don't care where you go. And like I say, I was raised in Apalachicola. First couple of years. I came here, hit a Tarpon when I was 12. And my mother used to make Easter baskets, thinking about Easter right now. And she would go to the cemetery and we would pick moss and make what do you call it? A basket, but just out of moss. And then on Easter morning, I would go and get it was out, she hid them out in the yard. And there'd be one egg of this color and candy and all this stuff like that. It was always a big deal. And I did that for my children all a long time. I made their own Easter basket, which was fun. But what else was I going to tell her? Oh, and when Bob and I got married, he was, and we got married in 54. And he always had an antique car. He had an antique car when I first met him. It was a Model T. And anyhow, when we got married, we didn't have enough money to buy curtains for the house that's on the water over here on Riverside Drive. And so we sold it, and we had another Packard, or it was a Packard, that had a place for the golf clubs in the back, and it had a rumble seat, and the golf club things were right there. We got enough. We went to Moss Brothers and bought a bunch of them, sold them together, and they lasted for years. They were great. But we didn't have enough money then. But we ended up in Tarpon and with the photography. We bought the studio. He was like 24 years old, and he loved it. He loved photography, and he was very good at it. And he was. We had the car show here for 13 years. We had the guy, what's his name? Anyhow, the head guy from, I want to say, what was his name?
From Ocala?
From Ocala. Anyhow.
Sydney Strong.
Sydney Strong.
He was the curator.
And then we had the guy from the one up in Michigan or somewhere. But we always had really good judges, and we gave them prizes, and we had this whole place was loaded. But I, as a kid, I forgot to tell you, I'm mixed up because I forgot my little notes at home. But I used to roller skate where that motel is over here.
The old gondolier.
The old gondolier. We used to roller skate because when I moved here, the hotel was down, and it was only the cement, the basement of that place. Tarpon. It was called something like the Fern or something.
The old hotel?
What was it?
I don't know. I thought it was a Tarpon Inn or something.
Anyhow, but it was fun, and I used to play on this property. There used to be a big old house here, and that was a man from Garden City, New York. He had nieces that was named Linda and Harry and Janet and Janet Tinsdale. We played with them and we used to have a great time. This is what's his name? I can't think of names because I'm nervous. Sally, Mrs. Sally used to be over there by there. And I got my first corsage from her gardenias. She used to have a lot of gardenia plants. And Ernest gave me that thing. But it's a great place to live. But I'm gonna let my son see if he has. I can't remember everything. Boogie worked for us for a long time. We had a good friendship back there.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah.
I do, since Vasily and everybody else was talking about the charge accounts at Fagnas, you want to say it now before you forget?
Before I forget, my husband was one that believed that he should support the school's football team. He was a president of the PTA. He was always doing something like that. And we used to charter if our team, that school football field would be loaded. Remember, they would load. If it was an away team, like it was going over to that one place where you were supposed to do something, we chartered a bus, and we went by Chicken King. I don't know if y'all remember the Chicken King. We went by Chicken King and got all those boxes, and we'd have our Chicken King lunch all the way over, and then ride and come. And he was a great singer. He loved to sing, and he would get us started singing, and we would sing on the way home from the football game. But he always supported all that. It was really important to him that the kids be supported.
Okay, so back to the account. And I guess now, I'm older than Vasily, quite a bit actually. But it is generational, we have to keep it going like that. But I remember I was in 7th grade at what's now the City Hall, and I made the 8th grade basketball team. And the coach said, you can't wear those shoes, you need to go get some shoes, some proper basketball shoes. So Dad said, ride your bike up to Faglas's, and I said, okay, what do I do? He says, go see Mike, and he'll take care of you, and he'll tell you what to do. So I went in, and whether I was 8 or at that time 12, 11 or 12, or 35 or 65, I may not have seen him in 10, 15 years. I'd walk in, and Mike would look up and say, hi, Danny. And it was just that way with Mr. George and of course Anna in there. But he says, what do you need? I said, I'm supposed to get some basketball shoes. Well, they didn't have all the fancy basketball shoes like they do now. He says, here are these Chuck Taylor Converse. They're the best thing going right now. And he says, you want low tops or high tops? And I said, I don't know. He goes, try the high tops, they're cool. So I said, okay, he fitted me up, I tried them on, I'm walking out of the store with him. I said, how do I pay for them? He goes, you come up to the front desk, and they had that silver thing that you get. He says, now your daddy's got an account, you just write your name right here, and he'll take care of it at the end of the month. And he says, oh, one more thing, and he goes back. So I got these white Chuck Taylor Converse, and Mike came back with these maroon shoestrings because we were all wearing white, and that was the coolest thing in town. Having that maroon shoestring. And that was great. And then sometime I'd go in for maybe some dungarees, and well, we don't have that. So I'd walk across the street, the Tarpon, and everything. Miss Florabelle, Mr. Buddy, and Cleo, is that right?
Yeah.
Cleo and Mr. Snowden.
Yeah,
And
Mr.
Snowden. And it was just, Mr. Snowden always had a blazer on. I remember that. But you'd walk in here, and I don't know how they knew me so well, because I didn't really know them. But then you get around and you figure it out later. But that was great memories. Mom, tell them about when Dad was going overseas, and you were saying goodbye to him down at the train
At that time, I worked as secretary for the purchasing agents in the city of Clearwater. And that's when I'd come up and spend the night because my parents had moved down to Bel Air. But anyhow, I forgot what it was.
Dad was leaving to go overseas.
Yeah, he did. Bob was going to be overseas in Iceland, and it was a place that you could not take anybody. It was isolated tour of duty, and he slept in a Quonset hut, and he was General Browning's man. And he took weddings there, and when he took a wedding there, he didn't have much to do. When he took a wedding there, he would send home like $35. I got all the receipts. $35 to save for us because we were going to get married and we were engaged. And then when he came home, it was when he came home. When he came home, he came with the builder over here. I had that down too, but I forgot it. No, he was up there in Iceland a whole year. It doesn't make any difference. He doesn't matter. Anyhow, I had just bought a cashmere coat. And when he got off that train, I had gotten a wire and a telegram. And he said, I'll be in it on the 12-something train and this day. And it was just before Christmas, and I had that new coat on. Well, I stood up against it. When he came up and grabbed me and hugged me, I stood up against that stove, and I ruined a coat I couldn't afford. But anyhow, we fixed it up. It was okay. But that was, I mean, we did have the train coming. And, you know, he was also pictured on Boy's Life, where he was helping the soldier come down off of the platform, and he was pictured in Boy's Life for 2 years. He was 1 point under an Eagle Scout, but that's it, you know. He was a pretty good guy, you know. And we had 3 children, and I have 9 grandchildren, and I have 2 great-grandchildren that I didn't think I'd be around to see. And I prayed every night, please, Lord, let me see this baby born. And my baby is now 4 and a half, and I am thrilled with him. I love him to death. I'll be 93. I'll be 95 in September the 18th. Well, that's because my mother put it on my card all those years and didn't find out till my brother got married that I was the one that was born on the 18th, and he always said he was. So, but we're okay. It didn't matter. You know.
Yeah.
My brother was the one with the Coke plant, and my sister was the one with the high school secretary for 30 years. But that's right. Aj is going to be 103 in October. My sister's husband, Aj Criticus. I don't know if you knew him, whoever did know him. And he's going to be 103. He's a little bit stubborn, and he drives his daughter crazy, but they're happy, and he's doing well. He's doing good, so that's all good. Yeah. But anyhow, anybody want to ask me anything? I don't know. I
was sent some old, really old pictures of this area a very long time ago. And you just mentioned that house that's set right across the street here facing the water, and I have it on my phone. I was going to ask you, do you remember the pavilion when you come in, you come down the street here by the hotel, and you walk down right here by the water? There was a pavilion where that stage was closed in, like a pavilion back there. Do you remember that being closed in? I know I see the house that you talked about.
The boathouse?
Oh, yeah.
That was the boathouse.
Well, that was a boathouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see them all around, all the way around.
Yeah, there was 2 of them. We used to play hide and go seek. The man that the house that was on this property, right in that,
Right over here.
right here where the big tree is. That was, like I say, owned by an author from Garden City, New York, and his nieces and nephews. We would play on those trees and all that. But their parents were killed in a train accident in New York. But anyhow, this is my playground. This whole area up here.
Because the first person that I ever seen that knew about this house, the first living person that I've ever talked to, that I see that house that you're talking about in history right here. Yeah, so that's amazing. I'm gonna send it to Lisa. I went to school with her.
Yeah,
So
that's my daughter over there. Yeah. I don't know of anything else I can think of.
Miss Shirley, tell us about how old you were when you started driving. When you started driving.
How old you were when you started driving and driving your daddy around and stuff?
My father, the Catholic Church used to have a St. Patrick's Day dance at the beach, the pier, which everybody went to the pier. And he had a heart attack there. And they brought him to my house. I was sitting there waiting on him to come home, and put him in Tarpon Hospital. And they made him stay there. In those days, you had to stay in the hospital a lot longer. They didn't want you to do anything. So he had to have somebody to drive him around. Very good-looking guy. And so I learned to drive out on Darlington Road. I learned to drive. And while they were building US 19, Mary Darlington and I took 2 horses and we rode from Darlington's fish hatchery, chicken hatchery, to my home here, which was right over here on Court Street. It used to be, we had to move, and it was on Court Street, and my dad he would dig a hole in the ground, put a grate on it, and we would bake potatoes and things like that. So I would ride on it.
How old were you when you started driving?
I started driving when I was 13, and I actually got a license when I was 13 because he needed somebody, and I had already been driving, you know, and I love to drive. I drive all over. I'm not afraid of the traffic, but I'll be, 94 and a half? 94 in September. So I'm hanging in there.
Tell me about your relationship with Bob. How did you meet him and what attracted you? Tell me a story from that.
Bob was the last one of 12 children. He was the last one of 12 children, and they were very devout Catholic. And he used to ride with, we did not know that was good. Oh, thank you. Because when we came here, there was 10 families. That reminded me of something. There was 10 families, and the Coburns, the first house here on the road over here, first one, that was where the Coburns lived. And she was the catechism teacher. But we did not have a formal priest, and they would come by boat from Tampa or St. Leo. There's a monastery up there. If they had time, they would come and help us. Some Sundays we had no priest, and my father would just go down there to the church, and we would all just say a rosary and do our own thing with his black lab laying at the foot of the altar. It was only hold about 40 people there. And speaking of that, if I got bored in that little church, if I got bored, I would go. I knew where the key was. And I'd go in and I'd open the door and I'd sit there and I'd play the organ all by myself. and sing. I don't play the organ, but I had a good time, and I finished, and I put the key back under the little pot and go on my way. But I wanted to tell, I
Where
also,
did you meet Dad?
and so anyhow, he came over here with the priest. He came over, I'm with the priest from St. Leo, and Newport Richie had one all along. And so I met him, and he started coming to my house. He asked me for a date. He played cards with my mother and my sister because I wasn't that interested.
Didn't you meet at Stauffer Chemical?
Yes, I had met him at Stauffer Chemical.
So
I was a laboratory analyst, I was a laboratory secretary, and he was a laboratory analyst at that time. Yeah. But I also slept in the bridge one night. There was a family called the Register family, and they would have to open the bridge if a boat came through in that little house, only that was it was much smaller than it is now. And so Bert Register, the daughter, and I were good buddies, and her mother would make hot bread and always make a special loaf for me. I love hot bread. And she would make a special loaf. But we spent the night in there, Bert and I, in that little bridge house. It was so small, you had to be like this. But we had to get up in the middle of the night and open and close the thing, the gate, park it off so that somebody would go in the water, and it would go up, and then we'd go out and put it back down. Used to do crazy things, but right. Oh, and another thing, when we first moved here, there was all jellyfish in this water. I don't know if Johnny knew that. Did you ever know all the jellyfish that we had? Oh my God. You couldn't move it. There was loads of jellyfish, But anyhow, I can't.
He wanted to know if you have any funny stories about Dad when you were dating? You and Verona and George?
Yeah, when
tell us about your first date when you flew there.
Oh, the first time I went to see his family, he took me fishing in Newport Richie, just off where the new bridge is now, but over there. And he hit me in the head with a sinker. He didn't mean to. I ended up by Mr. Justice, my boss, the next day, taking me to Dr. Thompson, and I had to have it sewed up. But he was a very good court. He was very good to me. I was very blessed to have him. Wonderful person.
Do you remember the first wedding that your husband was the photographer at, and what year, and maybe who? And do you remember the last wedding, and what year?
There were so many. I can't
Do you remember when you started that?
He was busy. I know one time he was out on a dock out by Bogies with Berlsheimer. Not Berlsheimer. Anyhow, the Clearwater Sun reporter, and the dock went down. Do you remember that, Bogie? Do you remember the dock going down?
Burley?
Mrs. Burley. Yeah, the dock went down, and he was holding his camera up here because we couldn't afford to lose that.
I remember Eddie Humphrey's dad landed the plane over there in Tampa, walked out of the plane in the water, and walked out with his briefcase in his hand.
Yeah. It was a kind of a crazy life. I did go with my choir here in Tarpon. We went to Rome for a week, and we sang in the St. Peter's Basilica twice. And with him. That was one of the last trips I got to go with him. And he just,
The first studio was where?
First studio was on Hibiscus in the back of the church this way. Yeah. On the first store after the alley. Yeah, you come in this way and.
You had an ice box in the alley back here. every day to keep filming the pool back there.
Yeah.
At distance when you bring them back.
I used to go to the drugstores and every place and pick up their film, because he would print it overnight. We had the first color printer that Eastman sold. He had good friends in that. And it was just good. We were busy all the time. Yeah.
Were you already in business before Lisa was born?
No, when I was pregnant with Lisa, I would go down the street and I looked like an elephant. I was the biggest, most huge person you ever saw. I was so ashamed. I jumped off that thing in back of the church, that thing that had. I jumped off of that. He took me for riding in the Model T. We just wouldn't come. It just wouldn't work. But
You trying to bring on birth?
and yeah. But all the people on AMP and registers and all, they saved fruit for me because I crave fruit. I would go crazy for fruit, and I crave fruit. And like George Buchalist, he would say peaches or something, because I love peaches. And somebody else would say some, grapes or something. But that's where they all knew me. And I carried her 10 months, and I carried him 10 months, and I carried my last one 10 months. But everybody on the street knew me, and they were very good to me. He filmed the Pope for 4 hours, but a lot of my stuff got destroyed in this hurricane. We had quite a bit of water come in. What did she say?
Tell them about when her water broke?
Yeah.
Oh,
Taking pictures.
we had a new car.
Weren't you at the high school taking high school pictures?
And I was at the high school, and
You weren't in high school.
I was waiting for him, and I was on the front row, and he was up on stage taking the pictures of the team. I think it was a basketball.
Tarpon Ave.
Yeah, their team. And all of a sudden I said, oh my gosh, something's happened. My water broke. And I just got up like the real slow and started going back this way to the top of the thing, and I just looked up, I said, Robert, the baby's coming. And my car was new, and he had just gone to the New York cleaners and had his pants cleaned and everything, and they were on the seat. He said, sit on those, it's better than getting the seat ruined. It was funny, but that's okay. Crazy life. I've had a busy life, and I've been a very, very lucky person because I've got a wonderful family. I've got wonderful friends, but they're most dead now. And like Anna, I miss her terribly. Great gal. I just adored her. But that's the way it goes. You can't help it, But it's okay. But I wouldn't give trading this town for any in the world. I mean, it is the most beautiful. We're divided by 65 miles of waterway. I don't know if people know that there's that much waterway, but there's 65 miles of it. And I guess we did a more, and it's just great. Everybody's good. Think so, Ed?
I think so.
Okay. I'll give it to you.
Is anybody dying with one last question?
I have a question, because she brought up New York cleaners, and I just, because there's a big history behind the New York cleaners, which my grandfather brought to Tarpon from New York, and he had a dry cleaning business called New York Cleaners, and his name was Agami Gus, and Ludus, who was also a big part of the Greek church. And then when he passed, actually,
She's talking
my
about history,
grandmother
Ludus.
and my grandfather
Oh, yeah.
Learned to become tailors, and she became a seamstress by taking lessons in Paris. And so I can take you forever to talk about how they got together. But when my grandfather passed away, then my uncle, Enos Magnus, who was my mother's brother, took over the New York Cleaners. And the same celebrities who went to Baptists and who went to Tarpon all showed up with the New York Cleaners because they would do a lot of cleaning of the wardrobes and alterations. And my grandfather also made suits. He'd go there and have a custom-made suit. He made hats. So you got the whole works right there on Tarpon Ave.
We did?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm missing the New York Cleaners. Did they say anything that reminded you to think, oh, I should have said blah, blah, blah?
What was that?
That's not very good English. Did the Vice Scouts surely say anything that triggered something for you that made you think, oh, I need to
remember
tell
a lot
them
of what
this?
she said.
Was
I
that-
remember. No, I remember Shirley and Bob. I remember when he first opened up on the Hibiscus Street,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he moved to Pinellas Avenue.
yeah.
All right. Okay, so is there anything that she said that
Well, she did a good job.
okay. She did a good job. Okay, question.
Yeah. Just, is there anything, any advice or directives that you would give future generations who are going to be living in Tarpon Springs? Whether it's the angle of where we should head the city or preserve the city, like what would be one piece of advice for the future of Tarpon Springs?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Question.
I was pretty busy growing up and after I was married. And I got it very involved with my church and playing tennis, playing bridge. Just get involved, you know, and stay true to what you believe in. That's the main thing. You know, love your neighbor. You can't hardly see them anymore because they got this in front of them, and I want to say, I want to crack them all. I don't like them. I just want to say, throw them out, because you'll go next door and visit your neighbor if you don't have that. And I had wonderful neighbors on Riverside, and I'm kind of by myself down here where I am now, but I love it. It's okay. We did have the car show 13 times, and we worked our little butts off. But we had a great time. We had the parade at night, gaslight parade, and we had a fish fry in the Friday night, and then we had the gaslight parade, and then we had next night we had a banquet. One time it was at Innisbrook, another time it was at Pappas's, and the next day, I mean, this place was loaded with antique cars. Just loaded.
Fabulous show.
It was great. We had a fashion show. I got a lot of antique clothes, you know, but it was good, and that's what you got to get involved in, things with the city. But right now, I'm not steady enough on my feet to do that stuff anymore. But I'm okay.
You're okay.
I'm okay. Nothing to regret.
Yeah, the Rotary Club, because Bob was in Rotary with me for a long time, and George Douglas was with me in Rotary.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Knight Lewis, he was in Rotary too, it seems like. And so it's kind of that was a common denominator for a lot of us that we were joining. Okay, is there anything else? If not, we have a big party planned. Because there's cake back there, and there's a reason for it. And maybe while we're all together right now, we can ask Nicole.
Stand up. Okay.